The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Every time I start to record, I want to start off, I don't know why. I want to be like, party people, tag team, back again. Check it a record, let's begin. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I guess I just did it. All right, you know what? That's cool. I got it out of my system. Anyway, hey, what's up, everybody? We're going to do a quick one today. But first of all, I totally screwed up yesterday. I ended up, for some reason, not hitting next when I wanted to set the podcast episode up. By the way, so these things now are releasing at 12:01 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, meaning literally a minute after the day begins. So 12:01 a.m., I've got some global fans that wanted it out earlier. And gosh, I would even release them earlier, but then it kind of screws up the automatic dates and all that. So I needed to line up properly. That's why I'm releasing them at 12:01 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want, that's kind of what you can plan on for those of you that are in other time zones across the U.S. and then across the world. So that's that. Yesterday, like a dummy, I forgot to hit next and get that set up. So this morning I woke up at like 6 something and I was like, oh, I didn't get the notification that the episode had posted. And I realized I hadn't posted it. So therefore I posted it right away. So in case you did not realize there was an episode yesterday, go back and listen, because actually it was a really good one. It was episode 162, and I basically talked pretty much the entire episode about an amazing interview, not that I did, but that was done with a cancer doctor named Dr. Kathleen Rudy. I think I pronounced her name Ruddy yesterday. And it's really good. It's really good. It's really good to listen to. She talks about 2 specific cases that she really leveraged ivermectin to basically cure these guys. So anyway, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but I think it was a really interesting episode. Again, just another data point when it comes to your health that would love for you to take in. So if you did not get a chance to listen to that episode from yesterday because you didn't realize it had launched, there should be episode 162 sitting there. And then tomorrow's episode, I did want to let you know, that is going to be the interview number 2 that I did with Jonathan Bogner, who had a heart transplant. So he had heart transplant surgery. He was very candid about, everything in regards to that. So that's about an hour long or so, hour and 15. So like I said, I'm launching those interviews on Friday. So in case you needed time to break that up into a couple segments, you can hopefully do that on and over the weekend. So anyway, just a little housekeeping. It's been a minute since I've had to do some housekeeping. So there's some housekeeping there. The other thing that I did want to talk about is I had some people who did listen to yesterday's episode and they were like, we thought you were a Republican. And I was like, why'd you think that? And they're like, I don't know, just we got that vibe. And I was like, all right, that's fair. That's fair for you to think that. So you know what? I thought I would rehash my political history because again, I think it's interesting. And I think it also is part of what I talked a little bit about yesterday and what I've talked about, a lot. And that is, just continual growth, like growing as a person and, maybe changing your mind about things. But basically prior to 2020, I hated politics. I wasn't into it at all. I hate politics, said everyone, including me. And so, I was technically a Republican, but ironically, I had voted Democrat pretty much every year up until 2020. So I voted for Obama. I voted for Hillary in 2016. I can't even believe I did that. I voted, and then I did vote for Trump in 2020. So, I mean, that's just the straight facts. So whatever, think of it what you will. And since then, and since I've kind of, really dived into all this stuff, I did change my voter status to independent. So now I am a registered independent. And I did that because, honestly, I'm not all in on either one of these sides. And then here's the funny thing. When I had this conversation yesterday, they're like, "Oh, so you're voting for RFK Jr.?" I said, "No, not necessarily. I mean, or Jill Stein? No, not necessarily. Just because I have become a registered independent, that doesn't mean I'm always going to vote independent. I'm basically going to vote when it comes time to the person that I think is the best for the country. That's really what it's going to come down to. And I'm going to try and apply that methodology to all things that are on the ballot and not worry about, voting on any type of partisan lines, but instead voting with, a little bit my heart, a little bit my conscience, and a little bit just my research and what I think is appropriate. And by the way, I am going to vote. I absolutely am going to vote. I don't like the people that are like, "Oh, they both suck. Trump sucks. Biden sucks. I'm not going to vote." Well, what good is that going to do? I mean, seriously, what good is that going to do? That's not the answer. At the end of the day, God damn, I say that a lot. Figure out, you have to vote. If you have the birthright of voting, figure it out, man. Figure it out. Make a decision and vote. And you know what's funny? Actually, this is good. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, come November, people are going to vote for Biden because he's not Trump. And then people are going to vote for Trump because he's Trump. That's an interesting thing. People are going to vote for Biden because he's not Trump. So that's all the people that, absolutely loathe Trump. And then people are going to vote for Trump because he's Trump. And so maybe they think they want that alpha male, taken over. And so for me, like I said, man, I'm going to vote for who I think at the time. Because, by the way, there's a lot of time between now and then. A lot of things can happen. Man, I've talked about crazy things that could happen and who knows what could happen. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to take in all the data points. And then from there, I absolutely will make the decision that I think is the best for this country. And that's who I'm going to vote for. And it's going to have nothing to do with partisan lines or anything like that. So, okay, there's all that. Let me now talk about a couple other things. First of all, yesterday there was like a Russian submarine that launched a test missile or something like 60 miles off the coast of Cuba, which is actually relatively near the United States, if you're not familiar with that geography. Anyway, this is to me, this is all kind of goofy nonsense. I think it's a little bit political theater, Like I said, when stuff is just too obvious, when the dots are too easy to connect, they're probably not the right dots. But again, that was in the news. I'm not thinking much of it. The other thing that is going on, and I talked about it in a previous episode, Netanyahu is coming to address Congress. It looks like that is happening, I think, on the 24th. So that's causing a little bit of a ruckus, but you should know that is going on, and that is something that definitely, will be interesting. It will be interesting to kind of see what happens. I'm actually interested to see when Netanyahu comes to town, does he have any interaction with Trump? Because contrary to what I originally thought many, many episodes ago, those guys did have a major falling out, and I don't think there's a good relationship there. And my thoughts on Trump right now when it comes to what's going on in Israel is he is incredibly low-key about it. He does not talk about it much at all. When he's asked about it, though, that's when he's like, I'm all in on Israel, terrorists, blah, blah, blah. But he is literally just doing that for his donor base absolutely. And then also his evangelical Christian base, which we're going to dive into that religion thing. Man, I got some good religious stuff coming. I really do. I've got some really good religious stuff coming. I've got some great guests, but then I've also figured out a lot of stuff along those lines. So I'm curious when Netanyahu comes, if there's any interaction with Trump. Because I will say Netanyahu is a chameleon, man. He will interact with Trump if he needs to. If he thinks Trump's going to win, he'll interact with Biden if he needs to. If he thinks Biden's going to win, that dude is savvy, man. Again, whether you're a fan or not a fan, he is a savvy dude. He's a politician through and through. All right, speaking of sleazy politicians.
They're sitting on $10 to $12 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That $10 to $12 trillion of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China.
If you don't know that annoying Southern voice, that's Lindsey Graham, senator, and it's like dude is saying like the quiet part out loud. He's basically like, oh, there's potentially a ton of money in minerals in Ukraine, so let's help them now and then basically pillage all of those natural resources later, which is pretty strange. But this was on CBS Face the Nation.
This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war. But they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin $10 or $12 trillion of critical minerals that he will share with China is ridiculous.
I mean, again, the crazy part about this is, fundamentally, okay, I can't say I disagree with that thought process, but what is the collateral damage? Oh, I don't know, a few 100,000 dead Ukrainians that are sacrificed for that? I mean, seriously, think about that. That's really what it is, We are helping Ukraine in this war, but thank God they have not supposedly sent U.S. soldiers there. Thank God there's not, hundreds of thousands of U.S. soldiers that have been killed, but there are hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers that are dying for this. So, oh man, that is just dirty, dirty, dirty business. All right, next up, I do want you to listen to this clip because I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to do a full episode on AIPAC, which is, well, you know what? Thomas Massie on Tucker Carlson.
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to D.C., you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
All right, so more to come on that, but AIPAC is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, so it is the enormously strong and powerful American Israeli lobby organization. And again, like I said, more to come on that, but that was Thomas Massie in that Tucker Carlson interview. I think I referenced that a couple episodes ago. Honestly, if you want to listen to a really good podcast episode that is not this one, go to Tucker Carlson's podcast, and I think it was on Friday or Thursday. Just listen to it. It's good. It's good. It's very, very informative in kind of lifting the curtain and helping you understand how our Congress works. That was my biggest takeaway from it. I mean, the AIPAC thing was just a little piece of it, but he really pulls back the curtain a little bit and helps you understand how Congress works and how things happen. So anyway, that's a good episode to listen to. I really mean that. I don't really recommend a ton of episodes, although maybe I should start doing that more. All right, last thing for today, I'm going to play another interview for you. Man, this is interesting. There are more and more and more interviews coming out with doctors and prominent folks that are, really reassessing, and I guess not reassessing, assessing kind of what's taken place with and since COVID. It's pretty interesting. I don't know why. All of a sudden, it's like an influx of these as we're, all hitting at the same time.
Fully vaccinated children versus fully unvaccinated children, the rate of autism was 5 times higher.
So this one is about children. So he said fully vaccinated children versus unvaccinated, the rate of autism was 5 times higher in the fully vaccinated.
Okay,
Wow.
just scroll down a little bit. The rate of autism was 5 times higher.
Really quick, sorry, I forgot to say this. So this is overall vaccination. This is not just specific to the COVID vaccines.
And this has been consistent. We've seen this consistently in several different studies. There was another vax-unvax study that was done by James Lyons Weiler and Paul Thomas, and it was based on Dr. Paul Thomas's medical practice. And Dr. Thomas uses what's called the vaccine-friendly plan, or he has unvaccinated children. And literally, there were so few children in his practice that had autism, they couldn't really do statistics on it because they found virtually no children in his practice that were unvaccinated that were also diagnosed with autism. So it became impossible. When you have a denominator of 0, you can't do statistics on that. And so that did not come up.
Anyway, I'm going to cut it there because I'm actually going to try and find the full interview there. The rest, there's another part, but then it gets cut off. But, that's interesting too. And again, that's talking about the overall vaccination of kids. Something RFK Jr. talks a lot about, by the way. I'll have to see if I can find anything in regards to that. Again, that's not specific to COVID vaccine. That's talking about the overall process of, I guess, all the shots kids have to get. And maybe I'll have to try and get a complete list of all that. So anyway, all right, that's it, everybody. Again, if you did not listen to yesterday's episode, try and go back and listen to it. I think it's really good, and I think it's really insightful or informative. I don't want to call it insightful. You'll make that decision for yourself. And then tomorrow will be Jonathan Bogner. So if you want to understand what it's like to get or have to have a heart transplant, something I hope none of you ever have to go through, at least you can hear it from another person and get that perspective and then say, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to get my steps in. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get good sleep. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to take my boost. I'm going to listen to Deep Shallow Dive, and I'm never going to need a heart transplant. All right, everybody, call a spade a spade.
The ending was terrific.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.